Hey, it's so good to see you once again. I hope you had a fantastic Easter. As a pastor, this Monday after Easter, there's mixed feelings because Easter and Holy Week, sometimes I call it like the Super Bowl for pastors. There's a lot that leads up to it. The midweek Wednesday services, the first communion classes with the kids, Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, sunrise, and all the music, and just putting everything together, and then having a full church on Easter Sunday. There's nothing like it. It's like the Super Bowl as we celebrate that He is risen. And sometimes this Monday after Easter, it's good to take that deep breath, but I also miss it. I love Easter, and I love the days surrounding it, but I hope you had a great and a happy Easter. He is risen, and our work as followers of Christ goes on. If you've been doing our chronological Bible reading along with us, we're making our way through. The Israelites have made their way to the promised land. They have yet to lift up a king to rule over them. King Saul has not been put in place. King David's still to come. King Solomon's still to come. And really, the people are being led by different leaders, different spiritual leaders, different military leaders, and this, in a lot of ways, is how God intended it to be. He warns the Israelites that once they have a king, there's a very real possibility of corruption, and the king will abuse his power. And so God raises up these people called judges. And the book of Judges, which we read this last week, is all about these different men. And Deborah's one of the great judges. She's a woman, a military leader, as well as kind of a spiritual leader for the people. But there's all kinds of really neat judges. Samson's one of my favorites with his long hair and the strength that God gives him. But the judge I want to lift up today is Gideon. And he's not as well known as Samson, but Gideon, his name is used by a society that's still operating called the Gideons. Now, if you've ever stayed in a hotel and you've opened up the desk drawer and you found a Bible there in your hotel, more than likely that was placed there by this group of people called the Gideons. Now, the Gideons have been an organization since 1899, when two traveling salesmen in Wisconsin got together and started talking about what they could do for Christ. They weren't pastors, they weren't missionaries, they were salesmen, and they knew that as they traveled, they could distribute God's good and holy word. Now, the Gideons, the organization's grown. It's pretty massive today. In fact, on an annual year, they give out about 80 million Bibles across the globe. Still in hotels, but also to our military members, also on college campuses in different countries, not just here in the United States. 80 million Bibles each and every year. Now, the Gideons, why do they call themselves the Gideons? Well, it comes back to this judge named Gideon. And we read about him in Judges 7. So Gideon was a leader, and God raises him up to get the people's hearts back in the right direction, to fend off and to fight off this nation called the Midianites. And Gideon raises up a force to go to war. But God twists things. God challenges him and tests his faith. So, a reading from Judges 7, beginning in verse 2. The Lord said to Gideon, "The troops with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hand. Israel will only take the credit away from me, saying, 'My own hand has delivered me.'" So God is looking at the forces that Gideon has, and he says, well, if you go out and you win this battle, they're just going to say, you've done it by human hands, that God wasn't on your side. Now, therefore, God is speaking, proclaim this in the hearing of the troops. Whoever is fearful and trembling, let him return home. Thus Gideon sifted them out. 22,000 returned, and 10,000 remained. So they go from a force of 22,000 down to 10,000. Then the Lord said to Gideon, The troops are still too many. Take them down to the water, and I will sift them out for you there. When I say this one shall go with you, he shall go with you. And when I say this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. So he brought the troops down to the water, and the Lord said to Gideon, all those who lap the water with their tongues as a dog laps, you shall put to one side. All those who kneel down to drink, putting their hands to their mouths, you shall put at the other side. The number of those who lapped was 300, but all the rest of the troops knelt down to drink water. Then the Lord said to Gideon, with the 300 that lapped, I will deliver you and give the Midianites into your hand. Let all the others go to their homes. So here's Gideon and his faithfulness in God as God challenges him. And Gideon goes out with these 300 men and he defeats the Midianites. And this is an account of trusting in God. This is an account of following in faithfulness. So why do the Gideonites take up this name Gideon and call themselves the Gideonites? Well, directly from the founders of this organization, why they called themselves the Gideonites. They say that Gideon was a man who was willing to do exactly what God wanted him to do, regardless of his own judgment as to the plans or results. Humility, faith, and obedience were his great elements of character. I love that. Gideon was a man who was willing to do exactly what God wanted him to do, demanded him to do. And the Gideons consider themselves walking in that footsteps. Whatever God is calling them to do, and those true salesmen back in 1899 felt called by God to spread his word and to walk in faithfulness. Now, follower of Christ, we walk in faithfulness too. It might not be spreading out Bibles. It might not be joining the Gideons. And it certainly probably isn't taking up a force of 300 and going into war like Gideon did. But God is calling you. God is guiding you. God is pulling you out into his world for service, for compassion, for mercy, and to walk in his ways. So be like Gideon, following, trusting, no matter where God is sending you.